Hey out there, this is Friday, May 1st, 2015, and I'm in San Francisco. I'm at the Fort Mason Park, and it is a rather classically foggy day here. In the background, you'd be able to see the Golden Gate Bridge if there wasn't so much fog out there, but unfortunately, not today. But it sure is a beautiful place anyhow. You know, San Franciscans did a really smart thing by saving so much open ground for the public to enjoy. If it wasn't for the the parking issues and high cost of housing issues and traffic issues, that sort of thing, it'd be an ideal place to live. But on the way down here today from Chico, I really took my time. I subdued my driving, and I stayed behind semi-trucks pretty much the whole way and kept my speed just under 60 miles an hour, which is really rather unusual for me. And it really felt good. I really felt like I had peace of mind. I knew that my odds of getting pulled over, at least for speeding, were next to nothing. And I knew that I was getting optimum fuel economy, keeping it at 60 or just under. So, and it was, no stress. I was able to maintain my peace of mind. Well, I could see the madness around me of people, they driving like they're in a big hurry. And most of the time, if you stopped them and talked to them, they really weren't in a hurry. They're just neurotic. They're stressed out. Their heads are spinning. And you can see this reflected in the way people drive often, is that, they're really not happy. They're stressed out, and they get sucked into this small-minded mentality where, it's all about, hey, I gotta get ahead of this guy, and if he doesn't let me, and, you're in your head so much with just these little things that don't matter out there on the highway, these incidental things that, you really have to make a deliberate effort to keep your peace of mind out there, because, people are out there with all their pent-up frustrations, all their woes and concerns at home and at work, and it's all about money. It always comes down to money. People are stressed out because of money. They're stressed out because they're forced to live in a money-based reality. And for most people, that reality is getting more and more miserable day by day as they see their efforts to save a few bucks to ever really get ahead is diminishing day by day as work dries up more and more. I see this here in California with the drought. The farms are talking about laying people off, so all those laid off people end up coming into the urban areas and taking what few precious jobs are left there and reducing wages because they're hungrier. It's always, the jobs will always go to the hungriest people that are willing to work for less. It's a survival of the fittest. This has all been planned out, how America would respond to oppression, financial oppression, because that is generally the definition of oppression. It's done through economic measures. It's artificial because the fact of the matter is it doesn't show that there's a shortage of anything. It's artificial austerity. It's artificial scarcity. And it's really a mean policy. And that's emblematic of the people that are running our lives. By and large, these are just really mean people that don't care about you and I. They don't care about your kids and my kids. They don't care about the future. All they care about is their own little world. And they might care about their own perverted little children that they're raising to be perverted, because the children were no more perverted than anybody else until, they ended up with a parent like the Rockefellers or the Rothschilds or, oh, God forbid, Henry Kissinger, or, any of these elitists. It's this hypocrite class that are in there with the political class, that are in there with the money printing class. It's this royalty class, and it's really a relative handful in the scheme of things when you consider 7+ billion people on the face of the earth, and then you consider the people that are running our lives And by that I mean they're creating the policies, policeable laws and decrees, fiat decrees often, that we all have to live under. And this all, again, it all comes down to money. You take the rioting in Baltimore, or where was the last place that we had a big deal? It eludes me at the moment, but Ferguson. But people want an excuse to riot. They're angry. They're frustrated. They're not lazy. Yes, a lot of them are on welfare, and the welfare is imperative that the system have this because it's a release valve. It's a way for the public to vent their frustrations over economic oppression and tyranny. They've shipped all our jobs overseas. Minimum wage has not been tied into the cost of living, so you understand, without having regular cost of living adjustments with the wages and revisiting the work week, as work dries up, there's less and less work for the people, but everybody wants to work and stay busy and be productive and helpful and useful and relevant, all that kind of things, exercise their talents. So you need to orchestrate this thing like a symphony. And you need a continual reduction in the work week, gradual reduction as there's less and less work. So we all got to share, right? Share the pain. Isn't that only fair? Or else, what are you telling people? Just go off and die. You're no better than anybody else. You're no better than these elitists if that's your attitude. And if you don't give people a cost of living adjustment, as your cost of living goes up, there's absolutely no difference, mathematically speaking, than giving them a decrease in pay. And I urge anybody to correct me if I'm wrong, okay? But I know I'm not, because it's very rudimentary, simple mathematical principles I'm talking about here, okay? It's very, very simple to understand. So when people want to say that raising the cost of living is going to cause inflation, I say, whoa, the inflation is done, okay? They pulled out all the stops on inflation in the early 21st century when they started pumping up the housing prices, dumping all this money on the housing market, causing rents and mortgages to score, causing untold suffering and misery through people losing their houses in foreclosures through these liar loans that these banks have all perpetrated this upon us, through the fine print, through trickery, through deregulation, through getting rid of any kind of consumer protection out there, okay, and just letting these mean people just go wild west on us. This is who's caused our problem. And then they say, oh, NAFTA's great. We're going to ship our jobs overseas, and that's going to somehow be great for us. Okay? Look, if we had a realistic work week, which by at this point in history would probably be something around 5 hours a week, if everybody was doing useful, purposeful jobs that actually produce something, and you take them out of all those industries where they're not. The insurance industry, the financial industry, the real estate industry, all these are non-productive jobs. If you're a home builder, productive, okay? Any facet of construction, you're productive. Transportation, you're productive. Farming, you're productive. You're working in the retail industry, you're productive. If you're working in the service and anything where you're serving the public, you're useful, you're productive. Okay? There's a lot of productive jobs out there. If you're working in a factory, okay, I could go on all day, but there's a lot of useless jobs out there. In any of the financial services, all that stuff could go, okay? And we've got to really fundamentally understand just how roundly humanity has been duped, and this has happened. We've been conditioned incrementally over a long period of time. So it's like we're all deluded and in some manufactured fantasy world that's really perverted and dark, and we don't know our way out. And we need to really stop and get a hold of our senses and say, what is the way out? How do I get out of this trap? And the first place to start is right within your own self. You've got to say, you know something? There's a lot of things I'll do, okay, because I'm stupid. There's a lot of things I'll do for money. But there's a lot of things I won't do. And one thing I won't do is sign off on this establishment. Because in my mind, folks, there's only three kinds of people out there. There's the deceiving class, and this is this small cadre of people at the very top of this pyramid. And I would look at the back of your $1 bill so you can see the symbolic reference what I'm trying to give you here. These people are Satanists. They're Luciferians. In their minds, their perverted minds, they believe they're the good guys, okay? And, they're not. And that's a matter of fact. And there's a lot of names I could start ranting and calling them, but, I'm trying to subdue my tongue a little bit here at the same time as trying to point people in the right direction, the right way to think about everything, to help you to just, clear the slate and say, something, this system is corrupt. It's a mountain of fraud based on a hill of sand, and the whole thing is just a monumental charade. That's all it is. We're all being taken in this money-based reality. We're born beholden to the money masters, okay? It's those that have the copyright illegitimately. If you could see money as stuff, okay, then you would, as commodities, let's say, you'd see what I'm trying to get across to you. Understand that what you really need is not the money. They want you to believe that's what you need. What you need is food and water and shelter, things like that. And then beyond that, there's things you want, like a car, like energy, like trinkets, maybe a sailboat. Whatever it is that you want, that's natural and normal that you want those things. And everybody should be able to be free to have those things, and we could be. If we just took money out of the equation, there'd be more stuff than ever before in history because it'd be freed up. I'm looking right out here. There's all these sailboats right out here, parked. Nobody's using them. Okay, you understand, we don't even have to get busy and make a lot of stuff. There's plenty of stuff now. There's plenty of housing. If you just took the money out of the equation, all of a sudden the landlords aren't withholding the vacant house. It's there for anybody to use as they please. And yes, we'll take care of our stuff because it's our stuff. It makes no sense, and people want to work. The gardeners will take care of the lawns, and the housekeepers will take care of keeping the house clean. Okay, the system will work if you just took the money out of it, and we'd all be prosperous from birth. This can work, folks. I want you to understand that this really can work. That really who provides the things we need is what we really need to ask. So who do we really need? We need a creator God that made the fruit trees, that made the vegetables grow up out of the ground and the grains, put the fish in the sea, and any of the animals that you want to eat that are there to eat. Okay, that's who to thank. Thank you, God, for giving me the smarts, the wherewithal to go out there and to fill my belly with food and to fill me with clean drinking water and to fill me with a warm place to sleep. Okay, a warm, dry, comfortable place. This is natural that we want these things. But we should not be born beholden to the money masters and have to grovel to them when they're big fat leeches, folks. They're piss ants. And at this point I want to apologize for name calling, because all it does is it belittles the name caller. And last week I know I was at this chemtrail rally, and I called the mainstream media idiots, and this is a subliminal way. I mean, I'm just kind of venting, and I don't want to say these things. They just kind of